Welcome to the September 30th, actually September would be the other date, wouldn't it?
It is the 30th.
September the 30th. North Lake County Hospital District Board Meeting. We welcome you. Please bow your heads for a moment of silence. Thank you. And if you will stand, we'll pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Chair asks Ms. Kirsty to do the roll call.
Yes, sir. Ms. Aliverdi? Here. Mr. Hansing?
Here.
Mr. Harper?
Here.
Mr. Hurley?
Here.
Ms. Price? At this time, I would like to introduce Mr. Douglas, who is at the end of the table, and he is our newly appointed trustee. And if you would raise your right hand, sir, we will swear you in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and government of the United States and of the state of Florida, that you are duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution of the state, and that you will well and faithfully perform the duties as a trustee of the North Lake County Hospital District on which you are now about to enter? So help me God.
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Douglas, our newest trustee.
Welcome, Mr. Douglas. Happy to have you a part of this committee. Yes. All right, we will entertain your pleasure about the reading of the minutes for the meeting that was held on September the 11th, 2025.
I move to approve the minutes on September 11th.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Okay. This time, I'll ask Mr. White to present our quarterly audit from April 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2025.
Yes, sir. This should be tab 5 in your packets. It'll say Forvis Mazars in the upper right corner. Independent accountants report on agreed upon procedures to indigent care reimbursement submissions. Forvis Mazars partner Farland Halleckman was unable to join us tonight, so he asked that I present this in his stead. The findings of this quarter and the final quarter of our organization's budget year resulted in submissions that were passed and approved through the agreed upon procedures that would be at or below budget for every one of the organizations to complete the whole year. So if there's any questions about the findings in this report, I'd be happy to explain anything in here, or if not, we seek approval to fund the organizations for the quarter into June 30. And Mr. Douglas, pleasure to meet you. If you have any questions about this, I can certainly give a quick spin through it.
When will that, it shows here the 806,000 outstanding that was approved in the budget. Will that still go out?
So the budget information in the back here isn't synced up with our budget perfectly, and here's why. Not Heart of Florida. LifeStream Clinic was approved at $1,236,000 this budget year. They made submissions which are accounted for in the back. I didn't total those because LifeStream has a LIP agreement, low income pool funding agreement with the state of Florida through ACA. And the entire request for the intergovernmental payment was the extent of their budget, the $1,236,000. So that got funded to the state on behalf of LifeStream and ate up their entire budget essentially day one of the fiscal year. But included in the packet here are submissions beyond that So what you see as surplus in the back here is not reflective of actual surplus. This is based on submissions to budget. Likewise, this year, their request is $1.2 million, and the LIP amount is, the year 25-26 is $1,068,863. So if approved, that would be paid up to the state on behalf of Livestream, exactly, so they can draw down anywhere between 40 and 60% additional dollars on that through the state's programs.
It also shows there's an amount remaining in the budget for all these clinics.
They're all under budget.
And so will that money still go out, or is that gonna go into the fund?
Exactly. So if approved tonight, they'll be 100% funded, the clinics, for their submissions for the budget year. Anything under budget is a surplus carried forward to offset the need for millage in the current year. So it's part of the surplus carried forward. And for the trustees' reminder, this was given to us, the June 30th report was provided to us in draft form at the September 11th meeting. That was the first time we had laid eyes on it. And it's since been made final for your approval. That did result in changes to our estimate of carry forward, which is reflected in the budget worksheet you have in your packet. It was an increase to the surplus since they were so under budget. So if there's any questions about the quarterly report included, to center us back to the agenda item, I'm happy to answer them as best I can in Farland Halleckman's stead. Otherwise, we do seek approval of the agreed upon procedures report as presented in the packet so that we can pay and reimburse the hospitals and clinics.
Okay, what is your pleasure? Have any questions about the, okay. Well, do we have, no, come on, I'm kidding you, Mr. Braun, come on.
Quick on the question. Just in the past, and Matt, maybe this hasn't happened. I don't believe either hospital probably has done this, but in the past, there have been more submissions, qualified claims. There's been more qualified claims than allocations, if I'm making sense. I don't know if that's the case in this case. So sometimes what has happened in the past is after, let's use the example that the clinics don't spend all their allocation, but you collected X amount of dollars. If other providers, hospitals or clinics, have submitted more than in qualified claims, actually submitted qualified claims, than what they were allocated, because the allocation is just kind of like a placeholder so that nobody overspends the money, and it kind of gets distributed kind of in the fairest manner as we can do. The board has funded those claims, and therefore the surplus going forward, and I don't want to complicate it, so if it's going to complicate it, let's just not do it, but would allow those to be funded, and that would, again, change your surplus. So I guess that's my question is, were there other over submissions?
Okay, if I respond? Yes. Yep. So according to the packet, UF Health specifically was submitted, at least according to the report from Forbes Mazar, is that they submitted at the budgeted amount and are going to be reimbursed. It wasn't listed in here as an overage for either hospital or the clinics. There's more discussion to come on this, maybe in new business towards the end of the meeting, but we will be examining the process for which these agreed upon procedures are handled and the timeliness of the information, in which I would be communicating with the hospitals and clinics and urging them to submit their true costs for visibility to the trustees, but also for the event that there is a surplus resulting in somebody being under budget, reallocating those funds. It has been entertained by this board in the last few years, but according to their June 30 report, the budget year, nobody exceeded via submissions. Sure.
And just to give some explanation to that is there is a cost to doing so. And in the past, the funding has been such a level that the extra cost to, I don't want to say try to obtain the necessary documentation has caused us to be very conservative when we and just submit to the number.
Is there any other comment? Any questions? Okay. Chair will entertain a motion.
Here we go. Making to accept the motion as presented.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Anything you guys want to talk about? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same? Okay. The chair would ask now, is there anyone who would like to ask for additional funding that is not in the proposed budget? Any requests for additional funding? Okay. All right. Ms. Kirsty?
Yes, sir. The recitation for the record, the name of the taxing authority is the North Lake County Hospital District. The rollback rate is .3859 mils. The percentage of increase over the rollback rate and the millage rate to be levied is the levy of .45 mils, representing an increase in the property tax levy of 116.61% over the rollback rate of .3859 mils. That's from the tentative resolution that was approved on 9/11.
All right. We move to the resolution. We have two of them, Resolution 2025-01 and Resolution 2025-02. And I'll entertain a motion to read it by titles. Read the resolutions by titles. Need a motion for that?
By title. I make a motion to accept the resolution by titles.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay.
Resolution 2025-01, resolution of the North Lake County Hospital District providing for the adoption of the millage rate for the 2025-2026 budget year.
Okay. Any public comment at this time? Okay. Any discussion here on the board? Okay.
I would like, if you are about to discuss the budget and its impact to the millage, I'd like to point a change on the budget worksheet that was presented for the September 25th meeting. Since we had a reschedule, I want to clarify there was less in submissions than expected for the last quarter of the budget year, resulting in an increase to the surplus rolling into the 25-26 budget that we're going to discuss, thereby allowing for a different millage than what the .45 to cover the request from the hospitals and clinics. And to the pleasure of the board, I can read that percentage out. It was included also as scenario number 2 in the budget worksheet in the back of your packet. And just to clarify, this would allow for 100% funding of the hospitals and clinics request. The operational cost of the organization, it's just a boost to the carry forward cash, resulting in the need to potentially you could decrease the millage if desired.
I'm sorry. Okay, Mr. Braun. We're on the millage.
You know, right, but it impacts the surplus will impact your vote on the millage. So, and the budget could impact your vote on the millage. And so just as a, true partnership, and I've said this to some members that, should the numbers show that the millage that your previous reported is not necessary to fund the full balance, then I would wholeheartedly support, especially with the sensitivity of the taxpayers and the dollars, to reduce the millage further, to just meet the needs, and in fact, just to make it even more palatable, based on what I'm looking at here, if these numbers are correct, I at the risk of getting anybody mad at UF Health. I don't know if they would, but I can feel comfortable that I could stand here and say that it looks as if you passed actually at the rollback rate of 0.38, if I'm reading this correctly, you would be at a negative 164,218. I would submit that you can reduce the UF Health Leesburg Hospital by that amount. You can do a rollback millage, which would be a sign of good partnership with the district and the hospital. And the hospital, the UF Health Hospital, will support that, and it doesn't impact any of the other providers in their submissions. Did that make sense?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay.
Taking into consideration some of the public comments we've had in this year's meetings, and the temperature of our citizens, I spoke with Matt earlier, and one thing that you have said, Mr. Braun, in previous meetings is similar to what you just said, but you said in one of your meetings that UF Health would be willing to match Advent Health in your ask, which would reduce your ask by $1.5 million.
I'm still supportive of the rollback millage and us taking the $165,000 cut. So to clarify what my statement actually was, my statement was that you take the average, you add them together, take the average and split it. So that would not be exactly the same as taking it down to their, it actually would increase Advent and reduce us. So it would kind of meet us in the middle. And that I am also supportive of, if that is the pleasure of the board. But that was my intention of that statement, was not to match Advent, and partly because I truly believe, let me just explain it this way, I truly believe if you took the two acute care hospital numbers and you added them together, that kind of represents the true need of the acute care of need of the community as a whole. And there is very little, as much as we would like to believe we can control where patients go, neither of us can control exactly which ED or place they show up. So to me, adding them together, you not only capture the true need, but you can then it'll come out in the wash at the end of the year. If they happen to see more indigent patients than us, then they would be able to take any surplus that we didn't have. Either way, and Matt, you probably will do the numbers quicker than me. I don't know which is better, but I mean, I'm certainly open to either way. And I think as long as, and I don't want to speak for Advent, but I think as long as we don't reduce their submission below what they have asked for, they will be supportive as well. So if you want to take that maybe what you want to do is take the 164,218 that allows you to do the rollback rate, take that out of the total and divide the total by 2, and we can be happy, or some other method that you all would like to determine. But either way, I think what we're saying is the UF hospital can, obviously as the biggest requester, there's room to take the hit for and allow this board to pass a rollback rate, which would be a good sign to the community. And again, we've always said this is a partnership. We spend a lot of money on indigent care outside of these dollars, and we'll continue to do so. And we're willing to work with you on that. So I'm open to support everything except for dropping it down to Waterman's number.
Bill, I know and it's kind of relevant to this, is I know your payer mix, since I've been here for the last 3 or 4 years, your payer mix is a lot different than a lot of other hospitals.
Yeah, I think the North, I often look at the North Lake County and the South Lake County. The North Lake County's payer mix is tremendously different, and it just happened, not because of this meeting, I just happened to be talking to the CEO at South Lake Hospital, and he was kind enough to confirm with me that his payer mix is different. His payer mix, he said, is closer to 40% commercial, and ours is in the 20s. So that 20 or so, let's call it 15, 20% difference in commercial payer that they have in the South Lake part of the county can often help make up for the indigent care that they see down in the county, whereas we're missing that 15%. Our 15 to 20% that we're missing is replaced by Medicare. And if you've heard me in meetings, I'll tell you Medicare mostly covers its costs, not always, but you know, it kind of is a break even kind of deal, depending on some things do good, some things don't, and it kind of breaks even as a whole. So that 20% is the difference. Again, thank you for asking the question about the payer mix. I've even told the legislatures recently that same thing. So
Well, just reducing your ask by 164,218 would not give us any operating expense carryover, would it?
It will cover our projection of all operating costs and reimbursements to the hospitals. It would likely leave zero surplus at the end of the year if everybody maximizes their budget.
So how much surplus do you usually need?
We try to target about 3 months worth, which is anywhere about $100,000 and $150,000 on average.
So if we did a 300,000 reduction in the UF Health, you would be whole at the rollback rate? How about you just make it 500,000 reduction? Bring us down to 5 million and you can do the rollback rate.
How about we just make it 1.5 million? That brings us to 0.355.
Yeah, to the will of the trustees, I'll run any math calculations you guys want to give you whatever, give me the scenario as to what you hope to reimburse, whatever that may be, and I can tell you what the appropriate millage would be to cover that, and I'll let you know what surplus would be available at that millage in those.
Let's look at reducing them 500,000.
500,000.
I agree.
And allowing you, my main goal is to be able for this board to say that they held the taxes at the rollback rate.
For clarity, the trustee's asking just to reduce the UF Health 500,000, not adjust the average number and all of that. Okay. I'm with you. Oops. Okay. Okay, so to reduce, keeping all other expenditures the same. Reducing according to the workbook you have in front of you, UF Health Leesburg was previously 4.5 million. To reduce that to 4 million would require a millage of 0.395, which would result in a surplus of 184,000. I can keep expanding the decimals out to be more finite, although I am unsure whether we have to pass a 2 decimal or 3 decimal millage. I believe it needs to be 2. Yeah, fair.
Was that
184,000. It could be a little bit lower.
so run? I mean, don't mean to speak, but because I'm a lawyer, not a mathematician. Can you run it at the rollback rate 3.859 with the 500,000 and see what your surplus is?
335,000.
Would be your surplus. And that's probably more than the average surplus over the years, I would say.
More than we've projected via surplus. Sometimes surplus ends up being more, but the projected, yes.
Okay.
Are you saying you need about 150?
I'm sorry. So yeah, about 150. So to target that, to get about 140,000 in surplus, it would be 0.393. I know you're probably looking at me going, how can that be a higher millage with a lesser surplus? The dollars collected have a fee attached to them from the property appraiser and tax collectors that is variable with the amount collected, so it does change it more than statically.
So did you figure at the rollback rate what the reduction would be for UF Health?
if we use the rollback rate, reducing are you asking beyond the 500 or instead of the 500?
Instead of,
Okay. It actually goes the other way.
right, instead of.
To result in a all right, to leave with a sorry. Okay, to end at a surplus of $135,782, which would be, okay, that would be a reduction instead of moving it from 4.5 to 4.0, to moving it to 4.2 million.
4.2. And that would give us 135,000 carryover? Is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
And at the rollback rate, 0.389,
3859.
yeah,
No, that would be the rollback rate at 0.3859.
3859.
Okay.
Mr. Braun, are you smiling?
Let's keep mathing.
Well, I want to be clearly understood as far as me, where I'm at. I believe in what we do. And I have always been a supporter of you guys getting what you asked for. This year, I think, is a little bit unique. And there's still a lot of concern about UF Health dropping its, but anyway, this is reducing your ask by, what, 300,000? Is that devastating to UF Health?
Phil, can you come up to the mic, please?
I mean, it's always been a partnership, and devastating is a strong word, so I wouldn't want to say devastating. We always strive to learn to live with what we have, and we find ways to make it work. And I think every provider here does the same. Again, one of the things I sometimes talk about is we sometimes get caught up in, this helps the hospital have money for other important services, and we've talked about the need to have some margin, and we are trying to pull ourselves out of a margin, so every dollar does help. But there's also the patient side to this, that while the indigent care person may not have the money to pay for that bill, they're still getting a bill. And I know anytime any of us, most people, even people who can't pay their bills, want that bill to be paid, and there's a sense of relief when somebody else has paid it. And that's what this district does as well. And I think sometimes we don't talk about that enough, is they allow that bill to go away. Because the hospital still generates a bill. We may not be able to collect it. But there's still a bill generated. There's still an account until that bill gets paid by somebody. There's always an account. Now, obviously, we don't do extraordinary collection efforts when we know you're indigent. We don't take your house. We don't levy things. We're not supposed to do that. So we don't do that, and we wouldn't do that. I don't think there's any reason to try to go after somebody who doesn't have the ability. But we do vet that to make sure you truly don't have the ability, right? But that piece is important. So
Does the patient get a notice that it's been paid in full?
I don't know. They do. Okay, they do. I didn't know that. Yeah, that is good. That is good. That's very good to know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
right.
yeah, remember sometimes, part of the difficulty for all of us is the getting back to the patient to get the information needed to vet them, to make sure they're indigent, to make sure they qualify. And so, even after you've gotten a hold of them to get that information, they sometimes disappear again, so. But that is a part of it that I don't think we probably push on enough that there is a human face at the end of it, because they did get a bill, and I know we've had people, I mean, Nancy could probably speak to it better than me, but we've had people who call, who know they have a bill, who maybe don't even qualify for indigent, but are, when they find a way, they pay payments, we work with them on payment plans, they want to pay that bill. Most people do, especially if it saved your life, right? Yeah, oh.
So I'm Nancy Wise. I work with our team that processes the Northlake applications. And although we don't always send out the notice, we do talk to them and they know that they're approved. And sometimes it helps them get in. We encourage them to go to the free clinics, make that their medical home, as we've talked about in some of the meetings. And then it makes it easier for them to get lab work and maybe a follow-up surgery and things like that. So the patients know when they're approved. So they're very much aware of it, and they know it's Northlake Hospital Tax District.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
So, Matt, you have the 4.2 penciled in your spreadsheet, and that comes to 3.3859? Okay.
With 100 and with,
4.2?
I'm sorry.
4.2?
$4.2 million being the UF Health allocation.
Right.
Okay, yes, sir. Then it's the rollback rate at
Are we where we can
0.3859.
make a motion to,
Pleasure of the board.
that would be better than adding UF Health and Waterman together and then doing the average. This would help them come out better. Yeah, Chair will entertain a motion.
all right, I'll make a motion to set the rollback rate at 0.3859.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Further discussion first.
Any discussion from the audience? Any discussion from the board members?
This is going to be approved, this will be the 25-26 approved budget
This-
money, right?
This is the millage right this moment. Yes, yes, sir.
That'll be for next year.
Yep.
So
Yes, sir.
4.2 million for UF is the 25-26 amount.
Effective July 1st of 2025, so we're actually the last day of the first quarter.
Okay, this must be approved by separate vote. Ms. Aliberti?
Aye.
Mr. Hansing?
Aye.
Mr. Harper?
Aye.
Mr. Hurley?
Aye.
Ms. Price? Mr. Douglas? Okay, thank you.
All right. Yes, resolution 2502.
Resolution 2025-02, resolution of the Northlake County Hospital District providing for the adoption of the proposed budget for the 2025-2026 budget year.
All right, any public comment about the budget? Hearing none. Okay.
For clarity, because there were some changes just on the fly here to come up with the millage, I'd like to restate what that effective millage would do for total revenues and total expenditures so that the trustees can knowingly vote upon these
Okay.
matters. Rollback rate of 0.3859, which was recently approved, would yield just under $9 million in total tax revenues and interest thereon, with a carry forward of a little over $1 million. It would result in $10,111,110 in revenues and roll forward, offset by $476,000 in operational cost and $9,499,188 in reimbursement cost to the hospitals, clinics, and LifeStream, resulting in a surplus at the end of the year expected to be $135,782.
Thank you.
Any discussion with the board? Okay. All right.
We have a plan.
Chair will entertain a motion.
I make the motion.
I'll second the motion to move forward.
Okay.
Separate vote, please. Ms. Aliberti?
Aye.
Mr. Hansing?
Aye.
Mr. Harper?
Aye.
Mr. Hurley?
Aye.
Ms. Price? Mr. Douglas?
Aye. All right. Do we have any new business? Anything anybody wants to talk about, discuss?
Matt, did you have something you wanted to propose on some way the financials were being brought together?
Yes, to the pleasure of the board, I'd like to explore some options with the clinics, hospitals, as well as the third-party CPA firm that provides the agreed-upon procedures quarterly to propose some process changes at our January meeting to expedite the approval process, to expedite the submission, to try to tighten up the timeliness of the entirety of the process so that, when this budget's passed, we can fund our organizations quickly because of the sporadic meetings that we have, as opposed to if we had regular monthly meetings, it wouldn't be a big of a challenge. So just to the pleasure of the board, if you would like, I would like to explore that opportunity with hospitals and clinics as well as Forvis Mazars to determine what might be a little bit faster process.
And when would you be able to get a summary of that back to us, do you think? Is that 30 days, 60 days out?
I can be pretty quick with that to the will of the clinics and hospitals being able to
30
respond.
days, probably. You'll
Yes,
have us,
sir.
you'll email us a summary?
I certainly can. I intended to have it available before the January 2026 meeting. If that would be tighter, if you want it closer to that meeting or if you want it sooner than later, that's to the pleasure of the board.
It doesn't matter, just maybe get it together, just for us to review a summary. If you need to edit it between now and then, that's fine too, just a summary, or an outline.
Yes, sir.
Because I think between the January and a May meeting, because when we get to that July 11th, we're supposed to turn that number in for the trim notice. So we kind of need to know. Where we're at with the numbers. What's our fund balance? What are the hospitals and the clinics asking for? So we can kind of agree on a millage rate by the time we get to that July 11th meeting. So we don't end up waiting till the
Yeah.
very last moment to try to figure out what the number ought to be. Can you hear me? I wasn't close enough.
Yes, just to follow up, the intent would be to provide you all with as accurate and timely as data as possible leading into those meetings so that you guys can be efficient with your meeting, your preparation of the meeting, and then the meeting itself.
So what frequency are you asking for, Mr. Harper?
I don't know, just to follow up on like 30 days after within 30 days, the summary of his communications with the hospital and the providers. Just an email summary.
Oh, okay.
And then we can make a decision on it in January.
All right.
No motion needed, just a conversation.
Okay. Is there anything else that anybody needs to say before we dismiss this meeting?
I'd just like to remind the board that the next meeting is scheduled for January 22nd, 2026. If you have any problem whatsoever with that date, please let us know now or even in a month so we can make sure we have a quorum if at all possible. Most appreciative.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Brown?
Just because you asked at the last meeting if there was any information on the local delegations. I don't even want to call it a bill because they haven't filed a bill, but their desire to come up with a bill or a solution to having this district be the overseers of these funds. And I'm not asking anybody, I'm not telling you not to, but I'm not asking anybody to go run out and beat up the local delegation by any means. But I have talked with some of the members of the local delegation. I don't know if any of you have, but their thought is that there is a county solution, that the county has the fund. This is their thoughts, not my thoughts. This is their thoughts. That has the funds to find about $9 million, which is what was approved tonight, to fund the clinics and the hospitals. That's what they believe. They also would like to, despite the difference in the payer mixes at South Lake and North Lake, he'd like to find a county-wide solution that would include all the county, which, would be additional revenue. However, I'm reluctant to believe that the county has the money based on some of the last few meetings and not able to find road money, and so they believe that's a better method, or there is a better method. I have still will tell you all that I believe this is one of the model methods to funding indigent care. I did come up with one other solution while I was in a meeting with them that kind of triggered in my mind. It wouldn't be an easy one because it would potentially impact the entire state of Florida. But as you know, you're very familiar with the HICRA bill. And the way that we use the HICRA bill is to kind of model how we determine whether someone qualifies or not. But the real purpose of the HICRA bill was a way back in the days when there were county hospitals and there were counties without hospitals to force the counties to pay for their indigent care when it left the county. In other words, like if you county weren't willing to support a hospital, well, and that caused your indigent to come to my county, that you would have to pay under HICRA, which is still the law today. However, I will tell you, I haven't done complete research, but I will tell you that there are more counties now with more than one hospitals in the counties, and the indigent folks don't leave the county like they used to. Now, there's still a budgeted number. I don't know what the county's budgeted number is. It's probably a few million to pay for HICRA. But I offered to the legislatures, if you could, flip HICRA over. It's time to flip HICRA, right? Let's make HICRA force the counties, if they're going to do away with these taxing districts, because Volusia has 3 taxing districts. There's some hospital districts that actually run their health systems, and their ad valorums are 5 times more than us. Orange County and Orlando, the counties in Orlando, they submit IGT dollars in the tune of 50, 60 million on behalf of their hospitals. So there's always funding from government in some way for some of this care. I still think this is a fair, transparent, accountable way to do it. It's a better way, but if they're not going to do it, my solution would be change HICRA to force the counties to pay for their own indigent care inside their county, not outside their county. So that's my update to that.
And I'd like to make a comment on the taxation. 4 or 5 meetings ago, we had a gentleman in the audience that said, he brought this to my attention. He qualifies for indigent care. On his tax bill for his home, for the hospital district, his amount for charges for indigent care is $3.31. Do you want to know what the solid waste service amount is for that line item? $345. So the guy that gets indigent care is paying $3.31 for indigent care through the hospital board district, but his trash bill is $345 on the line item. I got it right here, and I'll be free to share it with you. He's not the care. He was in our audience.
No, I think this is a fair way. Your elected officials, in fact, your elected officials that don't take a pay, and your elected officials who get very little thanks sometimes. And I do think this is a great way to handle your indigent care in a partnership with the providers. And I thank you guys for what you do, and women for what you do.
All right. I used to attend a church with a country preacher, and at the end he'd say, "If all minds are clear, we'll be dismissed."